Welcome back to Switch to Linux with another supporters stream. And if I can find my thing and remember to unmute everybody. How's it going, guys?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. But yeah, it is time again. Today we're talking about employee monitoring software. I think Salbu sent some information on the Chrome APIs. We talked about that in the news. I think it was 3 weeks ago. I dug back through my articles to figure out when I talked about it. But I thought it tied in nicely to the employee monitoring software. So I wanted to talk about that because it is a huge privacy thing. And I think it rolls into other things going on into our world whereby some people are just rolling over and accepting things. And if you just have a little bit of a backbone and stand up and say, no, then you will get a chance to maybe change some things around. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. And I think some of us have stories. I think I don't know. It's a toss up. Don't think I've actually had to deal with a lot of monitoring software. I think Salbu, you said it's pretty much illegal in your country or not?
It's illegal with a few exceptions, and
Few exceptions.
I have dug up the statutes
Excellent.
and yeah. Yeah.
We'll get into that, and then Dan, I think, had to live under the heavy thumb of it. You said, right? Little bit different type than we're talking about here. This is something I've talked about before, and I've taken an interest in it mostly because I do watch Joshua Fluke's channel because I think his comical take on the corporate world is quite hilarious at times. And sometimes he does sound like a little whiny baby, but sometimes, more often than not, I think he's just super spot on with stuff. Just from my experiences in dealing in the work worlds and things like that. And then, I mean, I can just imagine going into a company and having to do some of the nonsense, childish things that they want people to do. I'm like, no, what the hell are you talking about? In fact, I was walking down the street to go to the post office. I usually park the van off a ways out, so I get in a few extra steps in a day. And so I parked the van out there, and I'm walking into town to go up to the post office, and I see what looks like, I'm thinking it's clearly adults playing a relay race of some form or another. And I'm thinking, there's a high school that's nearby. It is Penn State. Maybe it's college. Then I get close and it's a bunch of balding people with beer bellies. I'm like, oh God, this is probably that big company that's right over there engaging in some team building relay race. Like, don't let any of these guys fall over and have heart attacks. I mean, you're asking middle-aged men who are balding with beer bellies to run. I'm sorry, that's a bad thing. But that's the type of stuff I've seen in the cringe, and that's why I like Joshua Fluke's videos. I enjoy seeing the cringe and reminding myself why I made a good choice to work for myself rather than go get a job somewhere. But he covered this in a really good article with some follow-ups, and so I want to talk about that a little bit. But let's get into the comments, and then we will introduce a topic. I'll let you guys talk about your experiences for Dan and your statutes for Salbu, and then we'll jump into some more of the comments and things. So room 2, hello, how are you doing? Commodore fan is on. So glad I don't have Nanny on my work computer, so I'm able to have 100% control of what's on them. Yeah, there you go. Trying to ask the IT guy to have Nanny stuff. I just can't get the software installed on my computer. I don't know why. Razzler review.
I see Babbler49 asks which country this, and I'm talking about Norway.
Norway. Okay, excellent. Now, would it be the same in the other Nordic countries? You're in Nordic countries, right? One of the Nordic countries?
Yes.
Yeah, is it the same in all the Nordics, or?
Most likely.
Okay. All right, excellent. So Stexenhammer will be happy about that too, I guess. Let's see. I hate to be the one monitoring my work computers, but I wish I was home in order to do it. There you go. Yeah. I understand if you haven't been home for a long time due to medical, then absolutely. If I ever leave my work, my computers go with me. There you go. I have an odd job working for nonprofits. There you go. Jeffrey says network nanny status online. That's right. 37 boxes of handwritten transcripts put on the computer Wowzers. Okay. Handheld scanners. Don't do homework without them. Don't forget the BES, web blocking. If anyone remembers the old reference, I'd be surprised. Not ringing a bell for me.
Ding.
See. Yep, it's bad when you can't read your own handwriting. I'll check it with one of you guys are talking. Absolutely. I've encountered that. Eek, unmasked kitty. I know, right? Hear about those that got shot now must be the ones who have to wear them? Wait. Yeah. I was actually going to talk a little bit about some of that stuff on my Christian channel tonight, but as I was digging through and putting things together, I thought that'd be a much better article to write, especially since I have more control over my website and what I say. So we're talking about critical race theory infiltrating local churches tonight on the Christian channel, if anyone's interested in that. But absolutely. Let's see. Cover that. At NASA, they watch us 24/7, something about nuclear batteries being lethal or something. Yeah, okay, I guess if you're working in like some super security field, that's one of the few exceptions I can sort of get behind it. But yeah, this what happened and what we're going to see and talk about briefly is a bunch of companies, when everybody's working from home, they're like, we got to make sure people aren't wasting our time when they're working from home. So let's force everybody to install employee tracking software that is actually complete Trojan malware on their personal computers at home and sign over the rights to even have your own children. Like if you got your little child jumps out of the bathtub and streaks through the background in the Zoom call, that belongs to the company now. Like that's how bad these things were. And we're going to talk about what those companies did. I know, right? I mean, once I was at a friend's house.
The keylogger software and everything else that comes with the package they want you to install.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, let's see. Go for first evaluation for the latest surgery. Prescribe stronger painkiller to take care of the pins and needles. Ooh, that would suck. Evaluation. I have to take a sick day off work to do. All right. Work has never made me do any of the team building exercises. Yeah, I had to do one day of team building exercises in grad school, and I told the lady that I was like, this is a bunch of nonsense, and I participated and whatever else. She's like, oh, you seem to enjoy yourself. I said, no, I thought it was a bunch of mindless, stupid nonsense. I would have rather been at home studying since I'm in grad school. But I don't take things in life with a bad attitude. So, I can look like I'm having fun. No, it was a bunch of meaningless nonsense. And to the life of me, I did not build any relationship with any person there. Ooh, we're all on a plank and we got to figure out how to get on the other plank with only one board. I'll give you guys a hint because I did camp counseling. I can answer this question. Ha ha! They all thought I was a cheater or something, but yeah, my Lord, team build. I don't know what's worse, team building software for your companies or employee tracking and monitoring. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Engagement here. I ran out of comments. So Dan, we're on to you. So talk to us about what type of employee monitoring you had to endure.
Well, when I was working, starting around in the early 2000s, they came out with this tracking software. And it first became really popular by putting it in tractor trailers, semis, FedEx, UPS, and everything else. And then they started putting it in work vehicles. Mm-hmm. And it got more sophisticated. The tracking software would kind of like, you tell your dispatcher you're going to this customer to work on his equipment. And you better be there on time, just as they calculated, or you better have a good excuse, because if you didn't, this thing was constantly, they'd bring a screen up on the computer and there's a red dot with your van number on it going down the highway. They put this stuff in all the work vehicles, and, they own the vehicle, so there's not much you can really say about it. If you get in a wreck and stuff like that, they examine the equipment, and it's after a while it got so sophisticated that it told the company how fast you were driving, how hard you pushed on the brakes, and all kinds of silly stuff like that. And then if you were going down a road and you were going more than 5 miles over the speed limit, it'd ping the office, and it would flag your van on the computer screen as driving over the speed limit, and just all kinds of silly stuff like that. And I kind of just lived with it. You know, it was their van. What am I going to do? Go out and buy a van and use my own van? Hell no. You know, it's bad enough I had to buy all my tools and stuff like that. The upside of something like that, all my tools, you know, $20,000 worth of tools in a work van, you know, if it gets stolen at night or something like that, at least you have a chance of them tracking it down and finding it.
Yeah.
But there's one guy that got in an accident, and it totaled his van. They kept his van for a very long time. It took him a week to get to the van where they would allow him to take his tools out of the van and put it in a brand new one. It was kind of really nuts.
I'll start here by the tracking system you're talking about now is the same tracking system that nearly every large vehicle insurance company right now is pushing, at least here in America and some places in the EU. Install this little box and you can save up to 10% on your car insurance. The fine print says that if you're in the upper 10% of what they consider safe driving, it's all a curve. So if you are better, as good or better than the average driver using one of those devices, you will save 10%. If you are not on that positive curve, you will actually pay 20% more. And these trackers they're putting in cars, it's the same thing you're talking about, where people are they're basically coercing them by paying them peanuts to put these things in their car. It allows them to track where you're driving, when you're driving, time of day, every single thing, all G-forces. This is too much data to give your insurance company. Never, ever, ever under any circumstance. If they're like, you have to, show them your favorite fingers and say, no, thank you. I will be getting a new company now.
No doubt that they, with all the vans that they have, you know, well over a couple of hundred of them countrywide, you know, they get a huge insurance discount. Over 100 vans, you know. That's a huge chunk of money.
And to your point, if it's their company cars, it makes a lot of sense for them to put that tracking software in it.
Yeah, it's a business decision as well. Now, after a while, I got under the opinion with talking with some of the other guys and stuff like that, that they really never used it or hardly looked at it unless something came up where they needed to.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the office people were kind of lazy too.
Yeah,
and they were overwhelmed with paperwork and everything else. They didn't have time to spy on. You know, they signed one person's a bunch of paperwork to do, plus spy on 25, 30 vans in their district, plus 2 semi trucks.
But again, for the business, it makes more sense. For your personal vehicles, my point is, if you're owning a business and you have a fleet of vehicles, it's your vehicles. I probably would put those in the cars, but when you're talking about your personal vehicles, guys, resist. Tell them no. Pay the extra few dollars to not do it.
I wouldn't add that to my personal vehicle at all. And thankfully, my insurance company has not even pushed the issue on me at all to do that. A matter of fact, they've cut my rates and not asked me to do that. And here in Michigan, was probably the last state to have unlimited medical coverage if you get in an accident.
Yeah.
So if you get in an accident and you're a potato and you're alive for the next 25, 30 years, they pay your medical expenses until you croak.
Yeah.
Well, I think a couple years ago, they had passed another bill where you don't have to have that. You can have a lesser medical deduction plan, like $500,000 or $250,000. And somehow when this plan went in effect, everybody got much cheaper rates, whether they went for the full unlimited or they took a middle plan.
Selby, let's jump down to you. What's your experience, and if you want to share some of the laws and restrictions and exceptions in your country as well?
Yeah,
Norway,
continuing on.
Just jumping on.
Yeah, so continuing on the cars and the fleet management systems, there are some regulations, and on the webpage of a legal firm, a lawyer's firm, they have some guidelines or a summary of what is allowed and what is not in layman's terms. having a fleet management systems, there are many valid uses, like keeping, if you run a taxi business, taxis often have large amounts of cash on them in order to get paid or give change back and so on. So they have a valid need to have needing to know where the cars are. But even then, they can't use the information to any other purpose other than knowing where the cars are. They can't use it. They cannot use it to figure out if you are taking a break or if you are taking too long a break. And you have to specify in advance what the tracking is needed for.
Mm-hmm.
They say that it's an absolute requirement that the electronic information stored is not more comprehensive than the purpose dictates. And it cannot be legally used to log the speed that they are using, or if they're if they are braking too hard, or and if they have a GPS tracking system on most of them have, if they have this system. Any system that is installed to monitor how they are driving or taking, it's off limits, and there are hefty fines involved with this. The only exception is if they have to, if this surveillance, GPS surveillance, if you need to push a switch in order to activate it, then it is considered to be a security measures for the driver, and then they don't have to specify in advance the use, because the use is obvious. He have to push a button, which is the Norwegian taxis have this kind of system, that if they are mugged or someone is at gunpoint wanting money, they can. Most taxis have a switch that they could reach without using their hands, and it's a silent alarm going off. So that is a secure, considered a security system. So
yeah, all that stuff is perfectly fine. I have no qualms with any of that.
And also the GPS for GPS tracking, the rule is that logged information cannot be stored longer than necessary and cannot be used for any other purpose.
Mm-hmm. So
unfortunately, we have too many loopholes in our laws.
Yeah.
And they're being used against us as weapons.
Yeah. So getting off of the vehicles and onto the actual workforce, talking specifically about computers. Does anybody have any specific experience in those before I jump in here?
I don't have any experience, but I did take a look at the articles that you sent me, and I find it really, really disturbing that they allow.
Aren't you glad you're not in the workforce anymore?
The depth of the stuff they're allowed to collect out of your computer as an in-home worker on your computer. I mean, it's disgusting, and they need to plug this loophole.
Yeah, it is. And so a lot of these things, some of these things that at least the ones that made the breaking news were actually not as forced on people here in the United States. Oftentimes it was third world places. I forget exactly where the articles may stay in there, and I know I covered these on the news one point in time. Before I jump into those, though, there are just a few wrap-up comments here relating to the car stuff, so let's do those. Little GPS tattletales. Late father briefly worked for a trucking company that used them and hated it. Yeah, if you're the employee, it's like Amazon has these as well. And the problem that Amazon is having is the machines aren't tuned right. So if you have to hit the brakes to avoid an accident, it marks you down as being a bad driver. It's like, no, that's a good driver. I was actually paying attention to the road. Let's see. Yes, I would not put a black box in my personal car truck. That's true. My van is a commercial van, but it has no internet connectivity at all. There's a black box in the event of an accident, but it is not able to be accessed without tearing it out. And these are not built into your phone. These are devices they plug into your OBD port, which all cars after 1996 have to have. And so when I actually bought the van, it actually did have a GPS tracker because I think the van was part of a rental fleet at one point in time. So needless to say, I pulled out the tracking port and I pulled out the pack of mayonnaise that was crammed up next to it. Don't ask. I don't know. But it's what, rental car. How does mayonnaise get pushed up somewhere? I don't know. But anyway. Put a black box in a car entered in a demo derby just to see what it registers. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that comment.
All right. So jumping over onto computer stuff, the only times that I've had to use any of these is I did work before Upwork was a thing. They were Elance, so Elance and Elance and Odesk combined together to form Upwork, or as we call it, Upchuck. Elance was amazing, and then Upwork shows up, and it just like washed out all of your ability to find any work. But Elance and Odesk and Upwork all have a tracking system to install in your computer, which it doesn't do key logging, but it will do random screenshots and it will log hours. And not all, I mean, some of your people would say, yes, I want to use it. And some people said, I don't really care. And so whether or not you used it was up to who you were working for. So those are the only times I had some of those trackers on the system. And then they weren't majorly invasive, but you turn them on and it'll, randomly take screenshots. So then the person that's hiring you can look through the screenshots and have a little bit more confidence that you're actually doing, what you're saying. And these were only generally got used for hourly jobs. So if you're paying me, X dollars per hour to do something, they would want me to turn the tracker on and do this. And so I didn't have as much of a problem with those. But what became a big deal was some articles came out recently, and just back what is this, about a month ago, not even a month ago, September 27th, Joshua Fluke has this secret employee monitoring, tracks keystrokes, screen, microphone, cameras, all sorts of fun stuff. And he did this video, which is like a 24-minute video. You can find this. It's called Employee Monitoring App Tracks Keystrokes, Microphones, Screens Without You Knowing It. We're not going to play any of his video here, but you can find it. And he goes through. I said we're not going to play any of it. Come on, YouTube. Just because I'm panning through something does not mean I want to play it. So here he's actually looking at the back ends of the software. So like he goes in and buys the software so he can look at it. Look at this. You record webmail, record Outlook email, record IM chats, record keystrokes, record website, record programs, record printed documents, record file tracking, record login events, smart camera screenshots, continuous camera screenshots every how many seconds. And that's just what we can see on the screen. I mean, really. Let's see if he pulls up any more. So here's different software, splitting down the app usage, how things are working here. So he's really talking about this. And then what happened is this company, and we talked about this briefly on the news, is that these companies were forcing people to install these softwares on their own personal computers. And what you can do about this stuff is speak up and say no. Okay, for example, my phone number is not attached to any of my banks. If your plan is to break into my banks by stealing my phone numbers, you're going to have a hard time because they're all like, give us your phone number, tie into your online banking. I said, no. If it's a requirement, I will not open an account here. And they're like, I don't know if I can do that. And then they call their IT staff, go, oh, we can do that. And so the point is that these people all got together and said no collectively, and then the companies dropped it. But this is a growing trend as people are working at home. And right now, if you're following the news about business and working from home and things like this, there's this giant debate going on where companies sent their employees home, and then they praised them for the amazing job that they were doing working from home. And then now companies are starting to open up and they're like, we want our culture back. We want our teams back. And the employers are going, I kind of want to work from home now. And so it's causing this debate. And so now there's this big push to push these softwares. And so here are 16 worst and most extreme ways employers are, this is not can, are spying on their people. And so they talk about the software monitoring, the employee monitoring software, how some of these are working. Some employers might pick spying apps instead of employee monitoring solutions. So spying apps can be completely undetectable in most cases, while offering some pretty extreme ways to spy on workers. Now, there's a balance. Some of this is somewhat acceptable if you own everything, but telling somebody what they can install for monitoring and tracking them on their own devices that they bought themselves is a no-go. So some of the companies, they're okay providing all your work at home office stuff because they are allowed to supply this stuff. So let's have a look at some of these things. Extreme ways of tracking features offered by classic employee monitoring solutions. Taking screenshots of employee screens, making video recordings, and offering live video feeds. All right, guys, what do you think? Good or bad?
I think there's some things that he brought up in his video that are really illegal. One of them is if you need to use your computer to contact your doctor or go to your medical website to upgrade something or get a prescription or something like that, and this thing's taking screenshots, or if you're talking to your doctor on the phone and the microphone is spamming the room. These are serious HIPAA violation laws, in effect when this happens.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't mind the Elance tracker I had, because I had to explicitly turn it on and remember to explicitly turn it off. So it's one thing if you know it's there and what the limitations are. But yeah, the software we're talking about, you don't have any control.
There is no limitations of it. It does whatever it does when they want it to do it.
Yeah.
In my country, having any kind of such software on the workers' personal devices is off limits. There is no basis, legal basis for them to install this or require that you install it on your personal devices, even if you are bringing your personal devices to the work and using it on the company network. Private devices are off limits regardless.
Another issue that comes to mind is, okay, you're working at home, you're using your own computer. They're demanding that you put the spyware in your machine so they can spy on you. Are they going to give you any kind of concessions towards paying your internet bill?
That's a good point, because
you're using your internet and your bandwidth and your cap.
Yeah, and many people are now capped. Like, I have 150 gigabytes of data. That's why, if you're not following along, I am now streaming my streams at 720p instead of 1080p. That's because I have 150 gigabytes of internet, which I'm paying about $150 a month for. I can't be having things. This is why I am so abhorred to video ads and crap like that. I'm sorry. No, you are taking precious bandwidth that I'm paying for. And yeah, these monitoring softwares, especially if they're doing these things, if they're making video recordings, offering live feeds, these are extremely costly on your bandwidth. Now, a few people are spoiled in not having caps or having caps so high they can never use it, but not everybody does. Go ahead, Dan.
Just like Microsoft and their telemetry that's built into Windows 10, Microsoft ought to turn around and cut you a check for that telemetry and the use of the bandwidth to get it.
Yeah, and be completely open to exactly how much bandwidth they're using, because they could run you out of internet. And with Microsoft, I understand that. I actually block Bing bots from my web servers, because a Bing bot will jump on your website, and these are like Googlebot. A Googlebot jumps on to scrape your website and index it and stuff, and it takes a few kilobytes of data. A Bing bot will jump on your web server, and I don't know what in the hell they do to those things, but they will scrape on a basic text site. It's not unusual to look at your analytics and see a Bing bot has literally scraped gigabytes of data. I've actually had clients' websites shut down because Bing bots exceeded their bandwidth. Like,
Bing
what
bots,
the
man,
hell are you
sounds like an
talking about?
atrocious bug.
I know, it does. Yeah, well, it is. It's a scraper for Microsoft, but it's their idea to, we need to be like Google and have our Bing bot go around the internet so we can index things properly. I don't know what they're doing with those Bing bots, but they take gigabytes of data.
Call an exterminator. We got
I know.
Bing bots.
Well, I did. I blocked them all. I have found out all their IP addresses from Microsoft and blocked Bing bots.
Oh my!
The next thing they're doing, install invisible installs and stealth monitoring. So this I would be really surprised if it's not illegal in many places, even if it's a company-owned work computer, because like here in Pennsylvania, we have what's called two-party consent. I cannot just turn on a phone call and record it without everybody else on the call knowing I'm recording it. Now, some states have one-party consent where you can, but installing software unbeknownstly on anybody's device does qualify as wiretapping and spying. So that does require two-party consent. So some companies are doing the invisible installs, some companies aren't. Any other commentary on that?
In Norway, consent is consent to control measures like this. Consent is not a legal basis for access to those things. It has to be voluntary.
Okay, all voluntary. So what happens in Norway? Like here in America, if you call any company, it's like, this call could be recorded for quality and assurance purposes. They're not allowed to do that in Norway?
Yes, but they have to notify you before the call starts on the other end that they are recording. In that case, they can do that. And they have to say
ours,
what
it's
they are
just
using
automatic.
Okay. Now here in the United States, like if you do a Zoom call or you do something like we're doing here, me and Sabu have to actually agree with Tom that we can do the stream with them in order for it to be legal. You know,
I never got consent, did I?
if for some reason you just turned on my camera, put me on the stream, well, that's not consent, so that's no good.
Yeah, and I know on the Writers Network that I'm part of, we actually do once a month we get on and do some writing training type stuff, and we use we're using Zoom for that, I think, and there is actually a record button, and whenever the presenter or anybody hits the record button, everybody must push a consent, and you have an option: consent or exit call. And that's good. So to have that option, because it's a good option for us to be able to have the meeting, but if we can't make it, they're all recorded, and those of us, because we pay for access to all that stuff, so I can go back and watch previous trainings, or if I was busy and really want to see a training, I can go back and watch the re-recording later. And so those are good, though, that it gives us the ability to spot. Our next one is keyloggers. Now, keyloggers are especially dangerous because they can log passwords. Yay!
Yes.
You go in, type gmail.com, and then you do blah, blah, blah at gmail.com. Your keylogger just gave their email address. And guess what? The next few things they probably typed? The password. This is also why if you use a password
and the user ID
and copy and paste, that would be better because the keyloggers can't see it. But in my case, I use KeePass XC. They could keylog the password to my password manager.
Not only that, on Windows.
Actually, no. I can actually use a software key as well. So if I was worried about that, I would use a key to open my password manager and not have to enter a password at all. But I do passwords. God damn, I'm sorry.
On Windows, they do make some malware for the clipboard. They can actually export your clipboard data, and it can go out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At least with password managers, it'll do the clipboard and then it'll kill it off the clipboard. I think it only gives you like 15 seconds or something. I don't know.
Yeah. In my country, in Norway, they can't regarding logging, and they can't log what you're doing on the internet. Like they can't log that I am visiting the New York Times or the register or opening Gmail and so on. So they cannot keep a log of where I'm going underneath it.
Mhm.
Whereas they can block sites that they do not
Yeah.
want me to go to.
Well,
that they can do.
That's number 9. That's internet monitoring. So that is something companies are doing. Internet monitoring. Yay! Let's monitor all the sites you're going to. You're going to that site? Ooh, that looks like an exciting site. I don't see about that. Instant messaging app monitorings. That's a particularly problematic one because when you're instant messaging somebody, there is this small assumption that if you're just in a private message with somebody, then that's kind of private data. Now, there's a different thing if you're on the company IM login, maybe.
Yeah.
But if they're doing like emails and stuff like that, I mean, what was that coach's name? I mean, really, it's like, but
Yeah,
yeah,
PMs
so
and DMs.
yeah.
Yeah, in Norway, they can monitor if the EM account is an unofficial company account. Then the company can monitor and store to the hard content because it's the official business.
Yep.
Whereas if I'm using my own personal, that's off limit. They can require that I'm logging this, but they cannot read the logs. Just willy-nilly. They need to have a legal need to do this, and me as the worker have to be notified in advance, so that I can be present when they're doing the review. Or if that's not possible due to time constraints, they have to notify me afterwards, and then they have to keep minutes of what they are doing and what they are looking at.
Yeah, you're making me want to move to your country, man.
Yeah, and we even have a dedicated entity to what was the name? We have a data protectorate agency that regulates these things.
They asked for access to calendars, notes, and reminders. Ooh. Again, if it's company stuff, I get it. If it's private stuff, I don't.
But it's your machine, and you're going to have your personal stuff intermingled with their stuff, which is a bad idea right off the bat.
Yeah, so on Linux, you can get around this by like Evolution. What I can use, you can use several different internet calendars, and I can have my Outlook reporting my private and my business calendar as 2 separate calendars. And if they're logging just their business account, that's, hey, have at it. But I can open up Evolution and see both accounts simultaneously. As long as they can't see my personal calendar, that's really what the important part is, I think.
Unless you.
Uh-oh. I lost some internet. Oh, I think I lost internet. That's exciting.
And again, you shouldn't be letting your employer put his stuff on your personal computer.
Okay, I think we're back. We had a little internet hiccup.
You had an internet hiccup. Oh, what I was saying is you could get around this by having 2 separate accounts if push came to shove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One for work and one for personal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had a dip down to 8 viewers. We're back up though. Back up to 25. All right, sounds good. Cat shedding on the power cables. Well, I don't know. The cats are up front. The cats are driving the van. I don't know. They just drove the van into some internet free zone, I guess. I don't know. They're all up there. Yeah, kind of fun. Let's see what else we have. Remote control the infected device along with viewing and blocking specific apps. If it's theirs, sure. But and geofencing alerts. So geofencing alerts. They are alerted if you're within certain locations or no locations based probably on the phone GPS. So there's that. Anything else on that particular article?
I think it's really, really disgusting that the world has come to this, and we have a pandemic and we have people that have to work from home and can't go in the office. So now they're going to give all those people spyware on top of their COVID vaccine that would allow them to go back to work.
You're not allowed to say that word.
I'm not.
It's needlecraft. Come on, it's the jabby
Okay,
jabs.
it's
The
needle
Fauci
point. Okay, you
ouchie.
get
Come
your
on.
needle point in your arm, and
So yeah,
you get your tattoo.
everybody, 100% of everybody, go and get yourself. Yeah, mind. One of the biggest disturbing thing on this is the requirement that you had to agree that whatever the thing captures is company property, because as I mentioned earlier, it's not too uncommon if you have really little kids, particularly if you're working later at night, kid jumps out of the bath and goes streaking through the back room. You do not need the cameras to recording that. And so
you gotta keep in mind that most people that don't have a large house and can rope off a room just so they can work in it, they're only going to have 4 or 5 rooms in it, and there's activity that's going to go on in the house where you're trying to get your job done because you can't leave your house to go to the office. And and since you're working at home, they're more likely to dump more work on you when you're supposed to stop working. So if you're working on salary, your quitting time's probably a different time every day.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to work from home because it's hard to shut things down. And I found being in the van for a while now, it's harder to shut things down. I had a good system when I had the home office of there's times, okay, I'm shutting down the office for a couple hours. You have a lot harder time doing that when this is my office and bedroom and living space and kitchen all at the same time.
All in one,
so
yeah.
It is a lot harder to isolate yourself in this circumstance. But we're figuring things out. We're slowly getting there. Well, I don't know. I'll do a video on that very soon, maybe tomorrow, about the early reflections. So the next article I want to look at, this is one of the ones that we had covered on the news. Salvage sent it to me this week because it ties into this. Google Chrome in the latest version 94, which this just came out September 23rd, so that would be 3 weeks ago. There is now an idle detection API built into Google Chrome. What this means, of course, an API, if you are unaware, an API is just a simple code base that you can plug into a individual program, in this case the browser, and it's going to feed data back a lot better than you having to program anything and everything that you want. So now any software that companies have, they can take the API, they can tie into Google Chrome, and what happens is if you're saying you're working, but Google Chrome detects that you're not doing anything, it reports to the API that the computer is sitting idle. Now, Salbu, did I hear correctly that this API, it doesn't just apply to Google Chrome, it applies to all things going on your computer? So Google Chrome is tracking your mouse.
What this is doing, as far as I understand it, because I read a few articles and I sent you a lot of links. What this does is it monitors if whether you are using your computer, not what you are doing, but whether you are using it, like whether you are moving the mouse around or using the keyboard. And if you are not doing any of those things, then after some time, the website can set a limit, I think.
Your computer should not give permissions to a web browser to detect this stuff when you're not even browsing the web.
Yep.
Yeah, but they can. This API will enable the websites to do certain things based on whether or not you're using it. Like if you're not using the computer for a while, it may automatically log you out or something. But this can also be used to on sites that have I think the Pirate Bay did this once, and then they removed it. I think after a few years of they had mining software implemented in JavaScript. So whenever you open the page, a mining script would launch mining Bitcoin, and this thing could be used to launch a mining operation on your computer when you're not using it, meaning that you're not likely to detect that they're doing it, or they can launch a virus download and run it when they think you are not using it using the computer. One of the detected events is whether or not the computer is locked, meaning whether or not the screensaver is active. So
Yeah.
Not only that, this software is also prone to giving you a carbon footprint number.
Yeah, there you go.
Because your computer is idle and you've left it for an hour idling.
Yeah, that's very dangerous. I'm leaving a giant carbon footprint with my solar panels and batteries. Yeah. Does it detect the fact that we're running off of a battery that has not been plugged into a grid for a while? Actually, I was plugged into the grid this week because it was extraordinarily cloudy for a while. But other than that, it's the first time in, 3-4 weeks I was plugged into a grid.
Vivaldi, the browser, they are actively blocking this. The default setting is that this is blocked. The websites are not even given the opportunity to ask if you want to enable it. But if you want this, then you can enable it.
And
this
so
is
to be clear, this is not just Google Chrome. This is anything based on Chromium. So this is going to impact Brave. This is obviously going to impact Vivaldi, anything except Safari and things based on Firefox.
And the Mozilla's web standards lead person, Tanek Selik, is proposing to label this feature as harmful.
Yeah.
So Mozilla is highly critical of this, as well as Apple.
Dan, did you want to jump in?
You just answered my question. I was going to ask if this was going to be something that was going to go all over Chromium-based browsers entirely.
Yes, unfortunately. And so if it were Firefox, at least we could go into the about config and kill it. But
it's which evil do you want to play with?
Yes, Well, I'm feeling like internet censorship today, so let's go with Firefox. No. I'm thinking about totally giving up all of my computer usage data to Google. Let's go with Chrome.
Sooner or later, Apple's going to want a piece of this stuff because it's just too juicy for them to turn it away.
Yeah, I mean, Apple hates this particular one, as does Firefox. So I pinned this when we talked about this. I pinned this as the only good decision Firefox has made in a couple of years. But maybe, I don't know, maybe there was another one, but probably not.
Vivaldi is the reasoning for blocking this. They had a huge blog post about this. Among other things, they're commenting on this thing, and they said that since this API can be abused for behavioral tracking, we think this is unfair for users to be expected to understand the privacy implications of allowing websites to use it. Therefore, by default, on both desktop and Android, this is blocked.
Yeah. So Vivaldi's taken some good stances. So that's good. All right, so let's. It's been a while since we looked at comments, so we'll look at comments, then we'll kind of wrap up for any final words. So if anybody sees any specific comments you'd like to read, go ahead and do that. And I just got to track out where I was because since the internet went snafooies. Let's see. Do Teslas have cameras? Yes, Tesla has hundreds of cameras. I don't like. I mean, I when I'm parked next to a Tesla, I fight hard not to pick my. No,
Tesla's looking for them emergency vehicles.
Yeah. Tesla's cameras are actively seeking what to
an occasional deer too.
They are secretly I don't know what's a good word to use, that are actively hunting and destroying the enemy. Tracking your computer while testing at schools. Yeah, there you go. Yes, that POS car would probably run on biodiesel. I wonder if I could hook up my diesel heater to run biodiesel. That would be a fun thing to experiment with.
Your van will smell like French fries.
Yeah,
well, I tested this actually back in the day. They had some leftover fry oil from some kitchen, and they used that fry oil. They ran it through a filter. Maybe it was just a coffee filter, but to filter out the big lumps. And then they ran it in the car, in the diesel engine of a car, just to see.
You need to do some other chemical reaction to it as well. I have the formula for biodiesel here somewhere.
Yeah, but Mythbusters, the myth that they were testing was whether you could just get some any old fry oil.
You can actually. You just you have to filter it and then you have to process it and then you can use it. But what I don't know if the sensitivity
any processing other than filtering just to avoid.
It's not as flammable. It's not as flammable. So you'd need to run a few other chemical processes to it. But I'm wondering if the sensitivity of my diesel furnace, because I just filled up my diesel tank again today because I did have to run the heater, I don't know, not last week, but I think the week before. And so, honestly, I get a lot of fuel efficiency off that heater. I probably ran it for several hours on, maybe a quarter of a tank of diesel.
Yeah, so you're going to run into a fast food restaurant and go stick them up, hand over all your French fry grease.
Give me your French fry grease right now. Well, some of them would be like, take it, because they have to pay to dispose of it. So that's why some people were doing that. They were just going around and be like, hey, can I have your fry grease for free? Like, yeah, take it, man.
When I was a kid and I lived on the farm, we had what was called a John Deere Model A tractor. Mm-hmm. And it was a twin-cylinder tractor from way back in the 30s or something like that. Before they even put starters on them, you had to grab this big flywheel and spin it around to start it.
Yeah.
This thing had 2 tanks on it. It had one small tank you filled with gasoline and another tank to put in whatever burns in it. And you would open the compression relief valves on the cylinders and crank this thing up, and it'd start up on gasoline. And after it warmed up, this thing would burn diesel fuel, kerosene, cooking grease. I mean, anything that paint thinner.
Yeah, it would be fun to get another one of my heaters because they're only like $150 and see what I could run with it. Because the way the diesel heaters work. So these are the dry forced air diesel heaters that you use in vans and RVs. The electric will kick on for the glow plugs. Will heat the glow plugs up, but once the glow plugs are heated up, it stops drawing electricity, and the heat of burning the diesel keeps the diesel fuel burning. So once it's warmed up with the electrical, it should burn whatever diesel type component you could give it. But it's curious to see if you could give it more things than just diesel, which would be kind of neat.
Think of maybe sending the manufacturer an email and asking them?
The cheap Chinese knockoff company? No.
That bad, huh? Well, you would think a diesel furnace isn't really a common thing. Only specialty people get those.
Well, I mean, they're big. So like Westabo would probably know. They probably have information about it. So Westabos are the name brand ones. But the difference between the Westabos and the Chinese knockoffs is insignificant, and except the pricing, the Chinese ones are $150 and the Westabos are $1,000 plus.
Or $1,000, it better eat anything.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think, but, it depends. Let's see. Benjamin Eldridge is on. How are you doing, Benjamin? I hope you're doing well. 160 Mbps, 20 Mbps is just over $80 a month after tax, modem rental fees, yeah. Phones on Cricket Wireless 5-line family plans, $25 a line. Yeah, I mean, I have an IoT router built into the van. I have a full network in this van with 2 gigabit switches. I mean, come on, guys. I need something more than simple Cricket Wireless hotspots here, okay? I need real internet! Dan, how's it going there? You've just been hacked. That's right. Well, Norway did have the crazy guy going around today. Oh, was there a little jihadist with bow and arrows in Norway?
Yeah, there was last night at around 6. someone, a man in his 30s. I think he was
I guess I did hear
37.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he went around a small town near the capital, and went around shooting people with a bow and arrow. And he also had other weapons, but it's
Yeah.
not clear yet if he had any of those weapons with him. But they were seized in his home, at least.
Yeah.
And 5 people, 8 people were hit. Of those 5 died. 4 women and 1 man
Ew,
died,
that's not good.
and everyone was above 50.
Wow.
And one of the ones who were injured was an off-duty police officer. He was hit in his shoulder blade, in his right shoulder blade, I think, and he was not injured, or the injury was not worse than he was running around down the street with an arrow sticking out of his back, telling everyone to go inside and go home, and yeah. So he helped until the place starts swarming with officers, and then he could relax, I think.
Yeah. I know that somebody tried to do that in a college in Wyoming, and the professor jumped out with a survival knife and gutted the guy. It was
Yeah. And this man, he is a few some years ago, he converted to Islam, and he has been watched by the police for a time. But he is a lone wolf, as they say. But the problem is that they can't, at least not in Europe at least, or in Norway, you can't be arrested or detained for something that you haven't done yet. So
yeah. Good idea would be to set up a tent to relax in. Yeah, I mean, I could. That sounds like a lot of work to relax in, especially when I could just take my chair and throw it out on a lake and just, I always do that.
Or you could do what Trent and Ali did in one of the cars. They had, I think it was sometime this summer, and they had some 2 friends, a couple. They have the same car, and Trent and Ali mounted a tent on the roof of the car, on the Forerunner, I think they call it. And you just open it, and there's some sticks down to the ground, and then they have a double-sized bed on the roof. So
yeah. Let's see. Chroma's third backup after Firefox and Brave, except Brave I don't know, how is Brave handling that thing, the API. I've not heard anything from Brave on it. Bless you.
Yeah, and I didn't check it.
Sneezed. What about ungoogled Chromium? There's another one to check. I don't know if ungoogled Chromium. My guess is ungoogled Chromium probably takes that out, but I don't know.
There was something like with the new Firefox 93 that came out, there was a big stink about.
That was Firefox Suggest. I did a video on that last week.
Yeah,
So,
I'm
yeah,
trying
which
to boo
they're
myself.
actually tracking data and handing over your personal data to their ad supports.
Pick your evil, people.
Yeah.
I don't know if LibreWolf is exempt from that if they pull that out of their build.
I don't know, but my guess is it's probably disabled by default.
Because I'm a LibreWolf user, and I use that as my primary. I use Firefox because I can use the DRM decoder to use Yahoo or Hulu and Netflix and stuff like that. That's all I use that browser for. And then I use Vivaldi to do stuff like this so I can communicate with people, because it seems like the Mozilla stuff don't work as good with microphones and cameras.
Yeah, and not yet at least, but there are some changes coming. I see.
Not yet. We said this a year and a half ago.
Yeah, but one of the board members of the Computer Association that I sit at the board with, his company is involved with Firefox and the development, and he is one of those task. One of his jobs is to monitor what Firefox is doing, and they have and he said during one of our last board meetings that Google and Chrome and Chromium have decided that they are going to start use the specifications that all the other browsers are using in order to solve this. Old existing Chromium-based browsers may not work with on upcoming versions of Jitsi, but then Firefox-based browsers will start working. So
yeah, well, so everything's going to stop working with Jitsi, I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, and then those of us who are using Firefox, it will start work for us again. So
yeah, Firefox already has problems with Jitsi. I'm using the Jitsi app, which is probably just a Chromium-based browser. So I don't know.
Like I said, man, pick your browser. It's browser wars. They're on.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens and adapt if we need to, I guess. Well, it is past 8 now.
Which evil do you want to deal with?
Yeah, absolutely. It is past 8 now, so we are going to do our final discussions, and I need to go and prepare for another stream. So today's Christian stream, if you're into that, we're talking about how critical race theory is being pushed into local churches. So I'll talk a little bit about how you can check your local churches to see if it's part of them already, and I'll talk about where it is in central Pennsylvania right now. So that's going to be in 1 hour at 9 o'clock Eastern. So the link for that is in the comments now of the video. So if you want to jump on over there, it is called The War is Waging. So you can jump on over there. Salbo, give us your final thoughts on employee tracking.
Yeah, and I mentioned that I have looked up the actual statute that regulates these things. It's not big, but a short snippet that I can read is that the employer may only implement control measures against the employers if they have sufficient grounds, legal grounds to do so. But and the circumstances cannot entail a disproportionate burden for the employer. So if they have to make a choice whether to burden the employer or burden the employee, the worker gets the better hand. So,
okay. Dan, final words.
The fact that they want to force work at home people to take this stuff is just a new low that we have hit. And if you get approached and they want you to have this stuff, and you still got to keep your job, have them give you a computer that's separate from your home computer that everybody else uses, and use it in a different room. Otherwise, I would not allow it on your personal equipment. I wouldn't recommend even bringing it in the house if you can avoid it.
Yeah,
it's rotten stuff from all the things I've read on this particular subject. I mean, it's very intrusive, and it can be used against you in so many different ways other than your job.
Yeah, in my country, that's one point that I forgot. If the employee working at home needs some specialized equipment in order to do the job, like having a sufficient computer, or they are not willing to use their home computer in order to do the job, then the business need to supply the needed tools in order for them to do the job. And before this happens, they also have to do this. Like if you have to wear a uniform of any kind in order to do your job, like official work clothing, then they have to supply that at no cost to the workers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So of course, the best thing you can do about it, tell them no.
Or move here.
Yeah, got a new company if you have to, but tell them no. Because you will be amazing what happens when people stand up. That's it.
Yeah, look at the airline that had problems these last few days.
Yeah.
the Southwest or whatever called.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I received they handed us out iPhones at work, and when I no longer could work, I asked them if they wanted their phone back, and the human resources department said, "No, just keep it, throw it in a drawer or something like that." So one day I thought, "Wow, I have an extra iPhone. I wonder if I can repurpose this and get a second phone number." So I read the instructions on how to actually reset it to factory default settings and erase everything in it. And I did that. When I did that and the phone rebooted, it said this phone belongs to XX company, and it wanted a username and a password, or you couldn't do nothing with it right off the bat after a factory reset.
Yeah, I've actually had those when I bought one of my Nexus 5Xs. I have a couple of them laying around in case one of them goes bust or something. And in the one of them, the person who sold it did not unlock it from their Google account, and even a factory reset will not allow you to reflash it or do anything with it.
Well, I knew this phone had spyware in it to some degree, but you know, when they told me to keep it, they knew anything that was in that phone that was proprietary to them was locked down good.
Yeah, yeah. So
It
anyway,
it may also be that the representative that you talked to didn't know that you couldn't just reuse it without having. So there's that.
wow. All right, we're going to wrap this one up here. We will see you guys in another hour if you want, or if you're not into that, then tomorrow for the weekly news roundup at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us to watch how the worlds of tech is going crazy, because I can't really talk about the stuff I really want to talk about in the world because, yeah.
It's that bad.
Oh, it's getting that bad, but I mean,
that's why you can't talk about it, is what I mean.
The things you're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. Now, I'm thinking about doing some like alt tech specialty stuff. Of course, we are on Rumble, we are on BitChute, and we are on Library as well. So if you want to find us in one of the other alt tech places, most of the videos get put over there. So you can go ahead and have a look at those. So anyway, and those are all at Switch to Linux. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next time.